Just to start with, I'll do a kind of a overall. I felt safe overall for the most part. There were a few occasions where there were some crowds that gathered where it kind of felt a little like I got to get out of here. But for the most part, Disney did a really good job of keeping the crowds low and separated. And inside the parks, it was very clear when you're in line, stand on this spot, move to the next spot when the person in front of you is moved, that kind of thing. And then everyone adhered to the mask wearing policy that I could tell, very few exceptions. There were some times where people would forget to put it back on, or if they were taking a drink of water, they'd forget to put it back up. And cast members were very quick to remind people, hey, make sure it's above your nose, those kind of things. So overall, I felt safe and it felt good.
So how early did you get for your California Grill reservation
They
still let you park there?
It was 7:30, and we got there about 5:45 maybe. We just walked over to Magic Kingdom for an hour, and in that hour, that was the emptiest I'd ever seen Magic Kingdom. I took several pictures there of just like almost nobody in the shots, and in that 1 hour we did Mine Train, Small World, Peter Pan, Mermaid, and Barnstormer. I think we ended with Barnstormer, and we still had time. The park was still open when we left, or as we were leaving it was closing. When could you ever do those rides in less than an hour? And we were the only ones on Small World when we did it, and there was very few people in line for Peter Pan. So there was several occasions during this whole trip where we either had a whole ride vehicle to ourselves, or there was very few people in line. Or I think Mermaid, we were the only people in that entire building besides the cast members working there, because the park was getting ready to close and there was just nobody back there. In Barnstormer, we rode twice because there was just nobody there. So we made it to our California Grill. After that, we walked straight back to our California Grill, and we proceeded to have a 3-hour dinner at California Grill.
Yeah, I was checking in on you during that dinner. I'm like, are they ever going to leave the California Grill?
Yeah, that was my wife's favorite dinner by far, and she never wanted it to end. Yeah, it was 3-hour dinner, and the kids were kind of melting down at the end, so we had to hurry up and get out of there at that point. But we could have made it last longer if it was just the two of us, probably. Again, California Grill, still my favorite restaurant on property currently, and it was great. We had a great view, even though there were no fireworks. So the next day was Hollywood Studios. They didn't open until 10, and we showed up around 10:15. First thing we did was Smuggler's Run. I think we went straight to that, and pretty short wait. I think it was maybe 20 minutes or maybe even less than that. The Hondo animatronic was not operational. It was covered, and they did the video screens. You didn't really even stop in that room except to wait in line. And then the four of us, because there was four of us, got to ride just us. So that was fun. So we had a good time on Smuggler's Run. After that, we did, Toy Story Land. We did Mania and Saucers at that point. And then this is where we got lucky. After we did that, we headed over to Runaway Railway because we knew it was closed on the app. It was down, and we got lucky that right after we got over there, we kind of sat on a bench nearby, kind of observing the cast members, and all of a sudden they opened the ropes and people started heading over there. So we jumped in line. We literally walked straight on the ride, and front row right behind Goofy. It was fantastic, and I thought the ride was really good. I enjoyed Runaway Railway quite a bit. It was a whole lot of fun, especially the Daisy's dance studio part and the part with the tornado and the whirlwind and stuff. That was really fun. We wanted to do it again. We were hoping that when we got off the ride that we could jump right back in line and maybe not wait too long. But by the time we got off the ride, which was like 5 minutes later, the line was already outside in the courtyard again. It was, listed as 70 minutes. So it's like, dang, we're not going to wait out in the blazing sun at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But we did Slinky Dog after that, and then we left and went back to the hotel because it was hot. So that was our Hollywood Studios day. I guess I should say before we went to the hotel, we did ride the Skyliner for funsies. So we took it from Hollywood Studios to Caribbean Beach, and then we took it to Epcot and back. Even though we couldn't go into Epcot, we still went over
So,
there and came back.
how many times on this trip did you ride the Skyliner for fun versus the number of times you rode the monorail for fun?
2 to 1, 2 to 1. Thank you.
You rode the monorail for fun?
We did, yeah. When we went to Magic Kingdom the second time, we just decided, let's just ride the monorail around.
Was it because of the poll question that you did that?
No, actually, my wife wanted to ride the monorail.
Subconsciously.
No, she chose the monorail. I was like, we could do the ferry boat, but she chose the monorail. And she's like, let's do that. She loves the monorail. So that night, we decided to go to Olivia's for dinner and check out Old Key West. That was my first time going over there.
So proud of my daughter. Not even 2 years old.
Yeah, great
She has
great
her own
restaurant. Tell her she has a great restaurant. The fried chicken, of course, is what you're supposed to get when you go there, so I had to order that. And it was good. The gravy with the fried chicken and the potatoes were really good. The biscuit tasted like a frozen biscuit you'd buy at the grocery store, and the green beans were, But the chicken and the potatoes and the gravy, incredible. So it's worth going for the chicken. I would go back there. It was really good. It's worth the trip over to Old Key West for that restaurant. So Saturday was Magic Kingdom. The crowd level was more on Saturday than it was Thursday. Of course, when we went on Thursday, it was like the last hour of the day. But the crowd level was higher on Saturday morning. Throughout the day, Saturday too. There were more waits. Like we waited for Peter Pan quite a bit. Big Thunder. I didn't get to ride Splash. I did want to ride it one more time, but again, I'll probably get another chance to ride it in its current state. What else did we do? The relaxation station over by Frontierland. I spent some time there. That's where you could take your mask off. That was one of the designated areas where you could sit, take your mask off. So it's over behind Pecos Bills. And my youngest, while we were waiting on the rider swap, they were doing Big Thunder. I took him on Pirates with me, and we had the entire boat to ourselves. Never had a boat to myself on Pirates. I think that was a first for sure. I had a few experiences like that where, we had our own test track car too. So very unique experiences, I'll say, for sure. So we took my 2-year-old on Mine Train, by the way, twice. He didn't love it, but he didn't hate it.
That's kind of my feelings.
Right. He kept saying that it was scary, but yet he kept singing the song, He was saying hi-ho afterwards, so he liked it, but he didn't love it, I guess. So we did do Buzz Lightyear, by the way. I gotta say, it's the cleanest I've ever seen Buzz Lightyear, ever. I maxed out my score in the first room because the ride briefly broke down right in front of one of the targets that I know is very high point value.
So did you just cruise after that?
Yeah, my on-ride photo is me doing the Chewy pose with my hands behind my back.
Except you didn't pull anyone's arms out of their sockets.
No, I didn't. Because I didn't lose. So, that was fun. For dinner that night, though, we ended up at Grand Floridian Cafe, because that was the only thing open at Grand Floridian right now. The only restaurant. It was fine, it wasn't anything spectacular, but it was interesting because the Grand Floridian was as empty as I've ever seen it. Obviously, the hotel itself isn't open right now. It's just the DVC part, and then the NBA players seemed like are in the outer buildings, but there was very few people in the restaurant itself. So let's see, the last day was the next day, and it was Epcot. We walked in, and I think we went straight to Frozen because it was still a short wait at that point. And we did Frozen. Then I think we got a few things from the Mexico Food and Wine booth, and then we did Grand Fiesta Tour. Those sangrias are pretty strong. So we did that, and then really enjoyed Grand Fiesta Tour with Jose. He was still there at that point. And then we did Canada Far and Wide. We went over and did that one and watched that show. It was good. There was 2 other people in there with us. That was it. Literally 2 other people. And
besides Eugene Levy and what's her name?
Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah, Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah.
Besides them.
Right. Got some really good pictures of an empty Canada pavilion, which was pretty cool. What else did we saw the cavalcades. Mickey and Minnie got to ride in on a car, and then the princesses were in like a carriage, horse-drawn carriage. going around World Showcase, and that's got to be miserably hot because they started at the between Norway and China and went all the way around back to Norway and China. So I don't know how they handled that on a 95-degree day. But as far as food and wine, the big standout to me was Japan Pavilion. They had the tempura shrimp, which it was like $8, and it was like a pound of food. It was like the biggest dish I've ever seen at a food and wine festival. This bowl was like 6 inches deep or something, and it had rice and tempura shrimp, and then like a potato cake with sauce on it. It was delicious. That was probably the standout to me. But after that, we did Soarin' in the Land, and we did, against my wishes, we did Seas with Nemo and Friends. Because now you can get to Spaceship Earth quickly, we went and did Spaceship Earth after that. We had to wait for them to clean the ride vehicles for Spaceship Earth. I'm not sure how they clean an Omnimover like that. But I'll tell my weird test track experience, because it was down by the time we got off Spaceship Earth. It was back up, and it said 20-minute wait. So we got in line. Within 5 minutes, we were the next ones on, and then the ride goes down again. And it sits there for about 5 minutes. They get it back up. We got to the first brake test. We started moving quickly, and then the ride just sort of coasted. And then we hit, obviously, a block section, and we like almost whiplash stopped. And that was kind of scary because you could still hear the sound effects of the brakes squealing and the even though we had stopped long before that had happened. So that was kind of weird. And I was starting to get a little nervous because of how abruptly that stopped. But I'm sure they have some sort of measure in place where you're not going to like fly out of the car because you're, stopping from 60 miles an hour to 0. What's going to happen when we're out there on the track? But it didn't break down again after that. So just to mention that, the test track part, you obviously walk through the car room where you design your car. Just like Haunted Mansion, you walk through the stretching room. That was kind of weird. I did video that. Walking through the stretching room was kind of a weird. They changed the audio to just say, let's continue our little tour as you.
It's like continuously says that?
Yeah, basically when you walk through it, yeah. We'll continue our little tour, yeah. As you're going through the stretching room, it's already stretched. And they bypassed that turnaround, too, of the queue in Haunted Mansion, where you go all the way to the end and turn around and come all the way back. You just went from the stretching room straight to the ride loading. So yeah, we rode the Skyliner again, and then we left and drove home and got home at 2:30 in the morning. So there you have it.
Your trip in a nutshell.
Yeah, in a very big nutshell.